are not hearing this, or do not understand this, or is it that, well, you know what? Let me not put words into your mouth. Why don't you tell me where this disconnect is?
I think that again the disconnect is something deeper, and it's again leads to a cultural issue. So you and I had this conversation a while back where I was explaining to you that if we were to examine the features of Guyana's national discourse, you know, the features of our national discourse line up with the features of an infamous Guyanese speech act, which was identified by the linguist Walter Edwards, and that speech act, Selwyn, is a cutout. So when you align the national discourse with the cutout, they're the same thing. So what we're basically having in Guyana is a national cutout, which does not allow for the exchange of ideas. And the cutout is present in the place where, or, the highest place of discourse in the country, Parliament. Now, when you've got that sort of discourse happening and you're not exchanging anything fruitful, it's very hard to communicate solutions or even to begin to formulate solutions. So what you've had happening for the longest while is that one side or the other, they have been very, very, very critical of each other. They've been cutting each other out more or less, and less emphasis has been placed on creating solutions. So when you don't have that presence of solution, what happens is that at some point, the bright young professional who is also an intellectual is simply not, they're going to recognize that they're not going to indulge in this puzzle. They're going to recognize the puzzle for what it is. They're going to recognize that the puzzle is not productive, that it hasn't led to solutions. And they're going to know that solutions are not very much present. So what this election boils down to is not looking at policies and issues and who has the best to offer, but it's about choosing between the lesser of two evils. And that is where a lot of young people are right now. I'm not choosing great policy, great ideas, great solutions, but I am choosing between two sides who have indulged in the national cutout, and I'm choosing between the lesser of two evils.
Who's supposed to be listening?
Who's supposed to be listening to this?
To the
People
young
who should be
people,
listening to this call.
to that silent group that you speak of, that who you believe that, who have said to you, some of whom have said to you that they will not vote because of how they feel, because of the things that are important to them that they're not seeing, the manifesto, concrete plans, these things. Who's supposed to be listening to the voice and the echoes of that group of people?
The entire top tier of the political leadership, the people who are currently there shaping campaigns and putting ideas out there, who are more or less marketing themselves, they need to listen to this, and they need to learn that service marketing is not going to be enough. Simply not going to be enough for them.
If you were called to advise, what would you say?
Now,
Well,
trying
let me, Sarah, hold on. If you were called to advise, would you and can you?
Now, I'm glad you rephrased it because that is why, I the expression is such on my face. Because a lot of the things I have said here to you today, Selvian, believe it or not, I have said it to top leaders on either side of the fence. I have said these exact things, and it has not been listened to. They simply have not listened to it. Uh, I, I, I don't think I'm going to say anything else with regards to that.
I understand.
Because at this point, I don't want to be giving, tainting the image of any one side more than the other because I think it deserves to be on equal ground. I just don't want to be the one to be, you know.
Do you have any ideas how advocates can encourage people to listen?
Now, uh, activists and advocates, it's not just about convincing people to listen. It's about building a certain relationship. And building relationships, it takes a very, very long time. So you're not going to be able to build the relationship that's necessary to get Guyanese to connect to what you're saying within a 3 week period or within a 2 month period. What should have been happening, Selwyn, is that these relationships should have been actively worked on over the last 4.5 years. I mean, where's everybody between that period from one election to the next? What happens is that there's this big marketing push at campaign time, and then after the elections have been won and the winners have wrapped it up, everybody, including whoever happens to be the opposition, seems to more or less disappear.
Sarah, you know, on one hand, and I'm looking at public advocacy, on one hand, people love to see quick results. And and this may lead to a hasty public advocacy action. How costly is such an action?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the last part of that.
How costly is such an
Oh,
action, a hasty
all
public
right.
advocacy action?
Oh, yeah. The thing about the tradition of advocacy in Guyana is this. When we recognize a problem, for example, there's, let me take an infamous one. The former President Barrett Jackdale's pension that amounts to more than $3 million in allowances and so on. So the immediate response to that was to hit the streets and to protest. Now everything that we're responding to, it at some point results in a protest. So when you go out there on the street and you shout at some street corner and you get your 5 minutes on the 6 o'clock news or whichever news is, what happens after that? What do you do? And will you standing at a street corner really change the fact that the former president is getting this unbelievable amount? No, it's not going to change it. And that, in my opinion, is very, very hasty advocacy. First of all, the people who are most concerned about this, and of course we're going to have a few, for want of a better term, senior activists in Guyana who are probably going to want to lead the cause. So first you meet up and you decide, well, this is the problem. What is the best way to address this? What strategy is going to lead to long-term results? And in our tradition of advocacy in Guyana, we have not seen that. We've not seen that at all. And so when you go shouting at the street corner, the people who you need to be having discussions with, people perhaps who you will need to connect to take a bill or to take something to Parliament, will no longer want to listen to you, because how you're going to be perceived as an advocate is simply as somebody who's willing to stand up making noise at some street corner and not willing to use enough of the brain power to create solution.
What is the dynamic when approaching, and you probably will have experience with this, approaching decision makers about key issues?
Now, that's a very tricky thing in Guyana. Very recently, just a few days ago, I was at a consultation that was actually designing training modules for public policy advocacy work. So what the team did is, the project team, they did some research and they came up with some findings, and decision makers were, you know, giving some advice to civil society organizations, and they were saying, well, listen, if you were willing to be more reasonable and to dress like us and look like us and so on, so on, so on, we would be more willing to engage you. Now, you would expect diplomacy to be the first approach, but in a situation like Guyana, does this really work? And the truth of the matter is that in Guyana, you've got to be careful how you mix radical with diplomacy, because
How you do what?
how you mix diplomacy with being radical, with the protests and the media attacks and that sort of thing, you've got to be careful how you mix them in. So one of my most infamous moments as an activist was when I wrote a letter to Dr. Roger Luncheon about the U.S. aid lead project that the government had been refusing to sign off on. In fact, they had denied knowing or agreeing to the new project. So I immediately knew that Dr. Luncheon, if I had went the diplomatic route, would not give me the time of day. So I publicized it. So I went radical and I publicized it on social media. And Dr. Luncheon's counterattack was to splash me across the TikTok news. And then what I did is, at that point, I had already collected evidence. So when I did respond to him again, he did practically nothing. All he said was that we have to agree to disagree because he simply could not hide from the evidence. So in that case, while it may have appeared to be only radical action, thought and planning went into that piece of radical action. So it's the blend. Diplomacy doesn't always work in Guyana, and you've got to learn how to blend it with the radical at some point. So, at some point. But the important thing to recognize is that the same people you're putting on the spot with your public action are the same people you will have to sit down with at the table to work with to find solutions to the problems you're trying to solve.
I'm impressed with what I just heard and encouraged that public action or your particular public action was preceded with careful thought and planning. Is that a norm among the scatter of young people that are rising in Guyana?
It is present, Selwyn. I can tell you it's definitely present. There are quite a few young people who think carefully and plan what they're going to say and what they're going to achieve by saying it in a certain order. However, it hasn't yet become tradition among us. It hasn't yet become tradition, but I'm hoping that given a certain period of time, it does eventually become tradition.
Sarah, my only fear sometimes when I invite you on is the amount of time, because you're like an oasis of information and knowledge and understanding of what's happening in Guyana. And I feel that I not only rob you, but I rob our listeners. But it was only half hour and time is up. But I'm going to arrange for you to come back on so we can dive some more into this advocacy thing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you've got great people coming up too, because I'm going to be tuning in listening to Mr. Best Music on this.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And you have to leave the meeting.
I know that.
Thanks.
All right. It was a pleasure being with you, Selwyn, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.